Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and overlooked coins in American history, the 1967 Lincoln 1-cent coin. This humble copper coin, often forgotten in jars or drawers, holds a story of American determination, transition, and surprising hidden value that will make you want to check every penny you own right now. The 1967 Lincoln penny stands as a silent witness to a turning point in U.S. minting history. In this video, we'll explore its origin, why it has no mint mark, what makes it special, how to identify valuable errors, and how one of these coins shocked collectors when it sold for a jaw-dropping price of $52,270. So, get ready, because this story isn't just about money, it's about American heritage, hidden rarity, and the thrill of discovery. The year 1967 was a period of great change for the United States Mint. The mid-1960s were chaotic for coin production. There was a national coin shortage due to the public hoarding silver coins as silver prices rose. People were pulling coins out of circulation, believing they would be worth more for their metal content than their face value. To ease this crisis, the Mint made some major decisions, and the Lincoln penny was caught right in the middle of it all. During 1965, 1966, and 1967, the U.S. Mint removed all mint marks from coins. This means that the pennies minted during these years, including the 1967 Lincoln cent, don't carry the familiar D for Denver or S for San Francisco. Every coin looks the same, whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Why? The government believed collectors were worsening the coin shortage by hoarding coins from different mints. Removing mint marks was an attempt to discourage collecting and keep coins circulating in the economy. Ironically, this move only made coins from those years more mysterious and collectible today. The 1967 Lincoln penny carries the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. This design became one of the most recognizable in U.S. coinage. On the obverse, you'll find Lincoln's bust facing right with the motto, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date 1967 on the right. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, introduced in 1959 to replace the original wheat stalk design. Beneath the memorial are the words, 1 cent, and above it, the proud proclamation, United States of America. The 1967 penny was struck primarily in copper alloy, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. The composition gives it that distinct reddish-brown tone that slowly darkens over decades, a warm color that seems to hold the very essence of history. In total, the U.S. Mint produced over 3 billion Lincoln pennies in 1967. This included all mint locations, even though no mint marks appeared. Specifically, Philadelphia alone struck over 907 million, Denver about 2.3 billion, and San Francisco contributed around 2 million proof coins. Now, you might think, 3 billion? That doesn't sound rare at all. But here's the twist: while most of these coins were common, a small number were struck with unusual characteristics, die errors, and special proof finishes that make them incredibly rare and valuable today. Why the 1967 penny has no mint mark? The secret behind it for collectors. One of the most striking things about this coin is the missing mint mark. Usually, you'll find a tiny D or S beneath the date, depending on where it was struck. But during the years 1965 through 1967, that feature disappeared completely. This decision came from the Coinage Act of 1965, which gave the U.S. Mint permission to produce coins without mint marks until 1968. It was a temporary change, meant to stabilize the economy, but it unintentionally created one of the most interesting periods in U.S. coinage. Collectors today love these no mint mark coins because they represent a rare moment when the mint tried to outsmart the public, and ended up creating some of the most sought-after coins of the era. The value of any 1967 penny depends heavily on its condition. Coins that have been in circulation, showing scratches, wear, or discoloration, might only be worth face value, 1 cent. But coins that were never used, especially those in mint state, MS, condition, can command serious prices. Collectors use the Sheldon grading scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS 60 still shows luster but with minor marks, while an MS 67 or higher is nearly flawless, a perfect example of minting precision. Some of the most valuable 1967 pennies are those preserved in red, RD, color condition, showing full original copper luster without dark toning. Coins graded MS 67 RD or higher can be incredibly rare, often selling for thousands of dollars at auctions. Rare varieties and errors that make the 1967 penny valuable. The 1967 Lincoln cent has a variety of known minting errors that can drastically increase its value. Let's explore the most famous ones. Double die obverse, DDO. This error occurs when the die that strikes the coin has a doubled image. On the 1967 penny, this may appear on the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust. If you see clear doubling under magnification, you might have a valuable error. Coin, die cracks or die breaks. Some 1967 pennies show raised lines or bumps caused by cracks in the minting die. Collectors often nickname these as cuds, and large, dramatic ones can fetch high prices. Off-center strikes. When the coin is not properly aligned during striking, part of the design is missing or off to one side. Depending on how extreme the misalignment is, the value can range from a few hundred to several $1,000s. Clipped planchet errors. Occasionally, a small portion of the blank copper disc was accidentally clipped before striking. These errors are easy to spot and highly collectible. Proof coins from San Francisco. The 1967 Special Mint Set, SMS, coins were not true proofs but were specially made with higher quality finishes. Coins from these sets that retain deep mirror-like surfaces are particularly prized. While most 1967 pennies may not be worth much, a few remarkable examples have stunned the numismatic world. Collectors have discovered nearly flawless examples graded MS 68 red, some of which have sold at prestigious auctions for thousands, but the crown jewel among them all was an exceptionally well-preserved 1967 Lincoln cent with unique minting characteristics, showing remarkable detail, deep luster, and a rare die variety. This single coin caught the attention of expert collectors and sold for an unbelievable $52,270. That's right, a simple 1-cent coin, the kind we often overlook, turned into a small fortune for its owner. How to identify a valuable 1967 penny in your collection? If you have a 1967 penny, here's what to do. Check the color. A bright red copper tone indicates excellent preservation. Coins that are fully red are worth the most. Inspect with a magnifier. Look for doubling on the letters and numbers, especially, in God we trust, and liberty. Check for errors. Off-center strikes, die cracks, or other visible flaws could mean a rare minting error. Weigh the coin. A normal 1967 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, it may have a planchet error. Seek grading services. If your coin looks flawless, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A high-grade certification can dramatically increase its value. Collectors adore this coin not just for its rarity or monetary value, but for what it represents, a piece of American history forged during a time of transition and challenge. The 1967 penny embodies the resilience of the U.S. Mint and the ever-evolving story of American coinage. Its clean, mint-mark-free design is symbolic of a nation trying to unify and stabilize its economy during uncertain times. And its survival in pristine condition, decades later, tells the story of those who saw value in preserving even the smallest symbol of their country's past. We're taking a deep dive into one of the most intriguing coins in United States history, the 1969 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This tiny piece of copper might look ordinary at first glance, but beneath its simple surface lies a story of history, design, minting mysteries, and unbelievable value that could make you double-check every single penny in your possession. The 1969 Lincoln penny is not just another coin, it's a window into a time when America's economy, technology, and coin production were rapidly changing. And if you're lucky enough to have the right one, it could be worth far more than just a single cent. So grab your coin jars, sit back, and let's dive deep into everything that makes the 1969 penny so special, so collectible, and so shockingly valuable. History and background. The 1969 Lincoln 1-cent coin was part of the long-running Lincoln penny series that first began in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the penny became one of the most iconic coins in American history. By 1969, this little copper coin had already seen several decades of circulation, and it had become a symbol of the American spirit, hard work, and national pride. The design featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the front side of the coin, with the word Liberty to the left and the year 1969 to the right. Above Lincoln's head, as always, was the famous motto, "In God We Trust." On the reverse side, you would find the majestic image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with the words United States of America and E Pluribus Unum above it, and 1 cent at the bottom. This design was created by Frank Gasparo and replaced the earlier wheat ear reverse design that had been used from 1909 to 1958. The Lincoln Memorial reverse not only symbolized national unity but also included a subtle detail. If you look closely, you can see a tiny image of the Lincoln statue inside the memorial. This small detail is often overlooked, but it's one of the many reasons why collectors admire the artistry of the coin. Mint marks and varieties. Now, let's talk about something crucial for collectors, the mint mark. In 1969, Lincoln pennies were produced at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint produced coins without a mint mark. The Denver Mint coins have a small, D mark just below the date. And the San Francisco Mint coins carry the S mark. Among these, the 1969 S penny has one of the most talked about and mysterious varieties in U.S. coin history, the 1969 S double die obverse. This particular variety is so famous that even people outside the coin collecting community have heard about it. The doubling effect on the obverse makes it appear as though the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1969 have been printed twice. The doubling is bold and clearly visible without magnification, which is why this coin became legendary among collectors. The 1969 S double die penny is incredibly rare. In fact, when it was first discovered, the U.S. Secret Service thought it was counterfeit and confiscated many examples. Only later did they realize that the coins were authentic errors caused during the minting process. These dramatic doubling errors occur when the coin die receives multiple misaligned impressions from the hub during the die creation process, resulting in the doubled images on the final coin struck from those dies. The metal composition. Now, you might wonder what the 1969 penny is actually made of. In 1969, the Lincoln penny was still made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that had been used for decades. This gave the coin its classic reddish-brown tone and a slightly heavier feel than the pennies we use today, which are mostly zinc with a thin copper coating. The switch to zinc happened later, in 1982, due to rising copper prices. So, if you hold a 1969 penny in your hand, you're holding a solid piece of American history, made during a time when copper was still abundant and affordable. Errors and rarities. Beyond the famous double die variety, there are other error coins from 1969 that make collectors excited. For instance, some 1969 pennies show off-center strikes, broad strikes, or missing letters. There are also examples where the mint mark appears misplaced, repunched, or even doubled. These small minting errors can turn a 1-cent coin into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. However, nothing beats the 1969 S double die when it comes to value and desirability. This error is considered one of the most significant in all of U.S. coin history. There are estimated to be fewer than 100 examples known today, making it an ultra-rare find. Current market and collector demand. In today's market, collectors are constantly on the lookout for the 1969 S double die penny. High-grade examples that have been certified by professional grading companies such as PCGS or NGC can fetch extraordinary sums at auction. Even lower-grade examples are highly prized because of their rarity and the boldness of the doubling. Regular 1969 D and 1969 P pennies are still collectible, especially in uncirculated or proof condition, but their value mainly depends on their condition, luster, and sharpness of strike. Brilliant uncirculated examples can fetch a few dollars, while perfectly preserved coins in top mint state grades can bring in more. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, especially those with strong mirror-like surfaces, are also sought after by enthusiasts who specialize in proof issues. The historical context. To understand why these coins are so special, let's take a quick look back at 1969 itself. America was in a time of great change, the space race was in full swing, and the first manned moon landing would happen just a few months later. The Vietnam War dominated headlines, and social and cultural movements were reshaping the nation. In that same year, millions of pennies were struck, circulated, and used in daily life, yet only a tiny handful of those bore the mysterious doubling error that would make them priceless decades later. Every 1969 penny that passed through someone's hands was a silent witness to that incredible era of progress, tension, and transformation. Tips for collectors: if you want to start searching for a 1969 Lincoln penny that could be valuable, here are some tips. First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. Around 10x magnification works perfectly. Carefully inspect the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" along with the date. If you notice bold doubling that looks crisp and clear, you might just have something extraordinary. Keep in mind that there are many counterfeits out there, so authenticity is everything. Make sure to have your coin examined by a reputable grading service before jumping to conclusions. Also, pay attention to the overall condition of the coin. The fewer scratches, marks, or discoloration it has, the higher its value will likely be. Coins that have been well preserved, with full original mint luster, are especially attractive to collectors. The enduring legacy: the 1969 Lincoln penny, like many other coins in the Lincoln series, continues to capture the hearts of collectors and historians alike. It's not just about money, it's about the story that each coin tells. From its design honoring one of the most respected American presidents, to its rare and valuable era varieties, the 1969 penny stands as a reminder that even the smallest things in our pockets can hold enormous historical and financial value. We're turning our attention to a very special and often overlooked piece of American history, the 1971 Lincoln 1-cent penny. You might have a few of these old brownish red pennies sitting in your drawer, a jar, or a forgotten piggy bank, but what if I told you that some of these 1971 Lincoln cents could actually be worth a fortune? Yes, you heard that right. This humble coin from the early 70s, minted in Denver, could be one of the hidden treasures lying unnoticed in your collection. Let's take a journey back to 1971, an era filled with history, transition, and change. The Vietnam War was still raging, NASA was pushing the limits of space exploration, and the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents for a nation on the move. But among those billions of coins struck in 1971, a few came out with rare characteristics, stunning conditions, and unusual minting errors that make them worth thousands of dollars today. So grab your magnifying glass and let's uncover the hidden secrets behind this copper classic. The Lincoln cent, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, had already become one of the most beloved and recognizable coins in American history. By 1971, the design still proudly displayed the portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, the same image that was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse side, the familiar Lincoln Memorial design, created by Frank Gasparo, continued to represent national pride and American heritage. Though simple in appearance, every tiny detail of this penny carries a story, from Lincoln's solemn face to the small D mint mark just below the date, indicating that it was produced at the Denver Mint. Now, let's talk about the composition of the 1971 Lincoln penny. These coins were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. That may not sound like much, but the copper content alone gives each coin a small intrinsic value that increases as copper prices rise. Still, what truly makes the 1971 Lincoln cent so fascinating isn't its metal, but the mistakes and miracles that happened during its production. At first glance, most 1971 pennies appear ordinary. You'll find them with that warm copper shine or, after years of circulation, a dark reddish-brown hue. But collectors know that it's the small differences that make a huge impact. Certain 1971 cents have rare die varieties, doubling errors, and minting defects that set them apart from millions of others. For example, some lucky finds feature doubling in the date or letters, particularly on the word "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." When a coin exhibits doubling caused by misalignment during the striking process, it becomes what collectors call a double die variety. These errors are extremely sought after because they're genuine mistakes from the mint, not post-mint damage. Even more, the 1971 penny's in perfect condition, especially those graded MS67 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, are incredibly rare. Since most of these coins were heavily circulated, finding one that has survived over 5 decades without scratches, nicks, or discoloration is like discovering a time capsule in mint condition. When collectors or investors come across such pristine examples, bidding wars often follow at auctions, driving prices to surprising heights. Another fascinating fact is how the Denver Mint's production methods in the early 1970s contributed to variations in the 1971 D pennies. The Mint was producing billions of coins annually, which sometimes led to inconsistencies in striking pressure, die polishing, and metal planchet preparation. These subtle differences are what numismatists, that's coin experts, spend hours studying under magnification. Every tiny mark, every slight doubling, every unusual minting pattern could mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth thousands of dollars. So, what should you look for if you think you might have a valuable 1971 D penny? First, examine the obverse carefully. Look at the date. Is there any noticeable doubling? Pay attention to the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Next, flip the coin over to the reverse side and look for doubling on United States of America, or 1 cent. Also, check for off-center strikes, die cracks, or any unusual texture that stands out. Condition, of course, is everything. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless specimen. A 1971 D penny in circulated condition might fetch only a few cents or maybe $1 or $2 if it's in nice shape. But when you step into the realm of uncirculated or mint state examples, especially those with unique errors or doubling, the price can skyrocket. Let's talk about the allure of copper itself for a moment. Many collectors have noted that copper coins tend to age beautifully. They develop what's called a patina, a kind of natural toning that adds character and depth to the coin's surface. Some collectors even prefer lightly toned coins over shiny red ones because the color variations can be stunning. From reddish gold to deep chocolate brown, these hues tell the story of the coin's long journey through time. In terms of historical significance, the early 1970s were a pivotal moment for American coinage. The U.S. Mint was under increasing pressure to cut costs, and debates were already beginning about switching from copper to cheaper metals. Just a few years later, in 1982, the composition of the penny would officially change from copper to zinc with a thin copper coating. That makes these older 1971 D cents among the last of the true solid copper Lincoln pennies, a detail that makes them even more desirable to collectors who value classic materials and craftsmanship. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of rare 1971 D Lincoln cents being sold for incredible amounts at coin auctions. Some of these coins displayed near-perfect luster, razor-sharp details, and strong strikes that made them standout examples of minting quality. Others were prized for their dramatic mint errors, double strikes, die clashes, and off-center imprints that turned everyday cents into works of numismatic art. One of the most exciting parts about collecting these coins is the possibility that a hidden treasure could be lurking in plain sight. Imagine picking up a handful of old pennies, glancing at the date, and realizing you're holding a coin that's worth far more than anyone would expect. That's the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of discovery, the beauty of history, and the potential of value all rolled into one. If you want to know how to spot and sell one of these rare pennies, here's a quick guide. Start by inspecting your coin under good lighting with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. If you notice any doubling or strange mint marks, it might be time to get your coin professionally graded. Companies like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and assign an official grade to your penny, dramatically increasing its credibility and market value. Once graded, you can list your coin at coin shows, online auctions, or even sell it directly to numismatic dealers who specialize in Lincoln cents. Collectors often pay top dollar for coins that have a combination of rarity, beauty, and historical appeal. And the 1971 D Lincoln cent checks all those boxes. It represents a time of change in American minting history, features one of the most iconic designs ever created, and offers an exciting chance for ordinary people to stumble upon extraordinary value. But here's where things get really interesting. Some 1971 D Lincoln pennies in near-perfect mint state have sold for astonishing prices. These are not your average coins. They're museum-quality specimens, carefully preserved and authenticated by experts. The brilliant red luster, sharp details in Lincoln's hair and jacket, and flawless surfaces make them stand out as masterpieces of modern minting. Collectors and historians alike continue to marvel at how coins like this manage to survive decades of circulation without losing their original shine or detail. Each one tells a story, of how it was minted, how it traveled, and how it was finally discovered by someone who recognized its true worth. It's also worth noting that Lincoln pennies, especially those struck before the composition change in 1982, have always had a devoted following. The Denver Mint, known for its high-quality strikes, produced millions of coins each year, but only a small handful ever achieved the near-perfect grades that make them treasures today. Those who are lucky enough to own such pieces not only hold a slice of American history but also a valuable investment that continues to appreciate over time. Yes, the 1979 Lincoln penny, a coin so ordinary in appearance that most people wouldn't give it a second glance, can actually be worth an astonishing amount of money if you know what to look for. So sit back and get ready, because in this video, we're diving deep into the story, the details, the errors, and the collector value of the 1979 Lincoln cent. We'll uncover why some of these coins are bringing incredible prices at auction, what makes them rare, and how you can identify one of these valuable treasures hidden in your change. Let's begin the journey into one of the most fascinating coins in modern U.S. history, the 1979 Lincoln penny. First, let's step back in time to 1979. The United States was in an era of transformation, technology was rising, the dollar was changing, and the U.S. Mint was transitioning its coin designs and production methods to meet increasing demand. The Lincoln penny had already been a beloved symbol of American history since 1909, when it was introduced to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features the familiar portrait of Lincoln facing right, symbolizing wisdom, dignity, and leadership. On the reverse, until 1958, the penny displayed the wheat ears design, but by 1959, in honor of Lincoln's 150th birthday, the reverse changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, an image that remained until 2008. By 1979, this design had been in circulation for 2 decades, and the Denver Mint, marked with its small D mint mark just below the date, was producing hundreds of millions of these 1-cent coins. But here's where things get interesting. Not all 1979 pennies were created equal. Most were struck in ordinary fashion, made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc, weighing about 3.11 grams. However, during that year, some coins were struck with minor flaws, double dies, or planchet errors that made them stand out. And when you combine those mistakes with pristine condition and the right grading, suddenly, what looks like a simple penny becomes a collector's dream worth a lot of money. Now, before we talk about value, let's explore the details that make the 1979 Lincoln cent such an attractive piece for numismatists. The D mint mark signifies that it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the main U.S. mint facilities responsible for producing circulating coins. Denver produced over 4.1 billion pennies that year, making it one of the most common coins in American circulation at the time. But rarity isn't always about how few coins were made, sometimes it's about how few remain in perfect condition, untouched, uncirculated, and well-preserved. A typical 1979 Lincoln cent found in pocket change is worth only its face value, 1 cent. But collectors are not just after ordinary examples. They hunt for coins that are in top condition, coins graded as MS or mint state by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. The higher the grade, the higher the value. For instance, a 1979 Lincoln penny in MS65 or higher, with a bright red luster and flawless surfaces, can easily fetch several $100s. If it has a unique error or a double die feature, the value can skyrocket even higher. These errors can include off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, or even coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as on a dime blank instead of a cent. Collectors love these types of coins because they tell a story about how something so small could have gone wrong during minting, yet survived decades to become a rare piece of history. Let's take a closer look at the design. The obverse shows the sharp, familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. His gaze is calm, his image dignified, surrounded by the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1979, with the D mint mark below it. On a perfect specimen, the details in Lincoln's hair, coat, and face are crisp and fully defined, while the fields, or background, are smooth and reflective. Turning to the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands proudly in the center, with the words "United States of America" and "E pluribus unum" above, and the denomination 1 cent below. On higher grade coins, even the tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial is clearly visible, a mark of exceptional strike quality. Now, while the design itself hasn't changed much since the 1950s, what makes the 1979 D penny intriguing is the transition of materials that was on the horizon. Just a few years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint switched the penny's composition from copper to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper coating. So, the 1979 D is part of the final generation of fully copper pennies, which makes them more desirable to collectors who appreciate the older, heavier metal. Copper pennies have always had a nostalgic charm. Their weight, sound, and color remind people of an era when money had substance. And because copper prices have increased over time, these pre-1982 coins hold an intrinsic metal value slightly above 1 cent, although melting them for scrap is illegal in the US. But let's move beyond nostalgia and get to what really matters, the money. You might be wondering, how can a penny minted in the billions be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and demand. Professional grading makes all the difference. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, perfect specimen. A 1979 D penny graded below MS-60 might only bring a few cents to a few dollars. But once you move into the higher mint state levels, MS-65, MS-66, MS-67, or even MS-68, the coin's rarity in that pristine condition increases exponentially. For example, coins graded MS-67 red, meaning full red luster with no visible blemishes, can command incredible prices at auction. Collectors compete fiercely for these top-tier examples, driving prices higher with every bid. And when you add in error varieties, such as a double die obverse, where the date or lettering appears doubled, or an off-center strike, where part of the design is missing, the value can leap into the thousands. In fact, some rare examples with both condition and error features have stunned experts with their final sale prices. One particular 1979 D Lincoln cent in superb condition, graded by a professional service and featuring exceptional eye appeal, has been reported to sell for an impressive amount, demonstrating just how powerful collector demand can be for even the smallest coin. It's not just metal, it's history, craftsmanship, and rarity combined. Now, let's talk about where these coins can still be found. Believe it or not, the 1979 D Lincoln penny still turns up in circulation today. Many people don't realize they have older copper pennies in their piggy banks, jars, or old coin collections passed down through families. So, take a closer look at your pennies, especially those from the late 1970s and early 1980s. You could be holding a small fortune without knowing it. Here's a tip for collectors: always check the details under magnification. Look at the mint mark closely. Some repunched D marks exist where the letter was stamped more than once, slightly offset, creating a shadow effect. Examine the date and inscriptions for doubling. Look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing or shifted. Even minor errors can add significant value if the coin is in great shape. Storing and handling these coins properly is also crucial. Never clean a valuable coin. Doing so can reduce its grade and destroy its collector value. Always handle coins by their edges, and if you have a promising piece, consider sending it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. A certified grade gives buyers confidence and ensures you get the true value if you ever decide to sell. The 1979 D Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how ordinary pocket change can transform into an extraordinary collectible. It represents a snapshot of America's economic and cultural history, a reminder of how even the smallest denominations can carry stories of craftsmanship, change, and discovery. For coin enthusiasts, each Lincoln penny is more than just copper and design. It's a symbol of endurance, the coin that has outlasted wars, recessions, and countless changes in society. The Denver Mint's output in 1979 captured a piece of that resilience, with its strong strikes, sharp designs, and production precision. Yet, in every massive minting operation, a few unique coins slip through that don't look exactly like the rest, and that's where opportunity lies for collectors. As time passes, these copper coins become more cherished, especially since the US Mint no longer produces pennies with this same metal composition. And with each passing year, uncirculated examples become scarcer as coins get lost, damaged, or melted down. That means the potential for value only continues to rise. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and controversial coins ever struck by the United States Mint, the 1982 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This small copper-plated coin might look ordinary, but it hides a story full of change, transition, and astonishing value that still surprises collectors today. So grab your magnifying glass, sit back, and let's uncover the incredible journey of the 1982 Lincoln penny, a coin that could be worth far more than you'd ever imagine. The birth of the 1982 Lincoln penny. The year 1982 was a turning point in the history of the Lincoln cent. For decades, since 1909, the penny had been made primarily of copper. But rising copper prices in the late 1970s and early 1980s caused the cost of producing each cent to exceed its face value. The US Mint faced a major dilemma: it was literally losing money by making money, so in 1982, a major change took place. The composition of the penny switched from 95% copper and 5% zinc to a new composition made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. This switch was intended to cut costs, but it also created one of the most complex and interesting years for Lincoln cent varieties in US Mint history, because this transition happened during the year, not before or after, both copper and zinc pennies were struck in 1982. That means collectors today can find 7 distinct varieties of the 1982 Lincoln cent, depending on the metal composition, mint mark, and the style of the date. The varieties that define 1982. The 7 varieties include 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, 1982 D large date copper, 1982 D small date zinc, 1982 D large date zinc. And here's the twist: one of these is ultra rare and highly valuable, making it one of the most talked about modern era coins ever discovered, the 1982 D small date copper penny. The rare 1982 D small date copper penny. This variety shouldn't even exist according to mint records. The Denver Mint officially switched to zinc planchets early in 1982, so theoretically, no copper coins should have been struck there after the transition. But somehow, a few copper planchets remained in the presses, and some 1982 D pennies were accidentally struck using the old metal composition. This means that if you happen to find a 1982 D penny made of copper with the small date, you could be holding a coin worth thousands of dollars. It's a modern treasure hidden in plain sight, and coin hunters across America have spent decades searching for more examples. How to tell if you have a copper or zinc 1982 penny. So how can you tell if your 1982 D penny is copper or zinc? The easiest way is to weigh it. A copper penny from 1982 weighs 3.11 grams. A zinc penny weighs only 2.5 grams. You can also notice the difference in sound when dropped on a hard surface. Copper pennies produce a higher, ringing tone, while zinc ones sound dull and flat. Large date versus small date. The small date versus large date distinction is another key detail collectors must learn. The small date features thinner, more delicate numerals in the date, and the 2 sits slightly higher than the 8. The large date looks thicker, and the 2 sits lower. These subtle design differences can mean the difference between a regular penny and a rare one worth thousands. Why the 1982 D penny matters to collectors. Collectors love the 1982 D penny not just because of its potential value, but because it represents a pivotal moment in U.S. coinage history. It marks the end of an era, the farewell to the classic copper composition that had defined the Lincoln penny for more than 70 years. The switch to zinc wasn't just about money, it was about modernizing the minting process and adjusting to the realities of changing metal markets. The 1982 penny tells a story of adaptation, innovation, and a little bit of mystery. No other single year in Lincoln cent history has produced such a diverse mix of compositions and design varieties. It's like a puzzle, and collectors have been piecing it together ever since. Discoveries and excitement in 2016, a collector named Michael Tremonti made headlines when he found what appeared to be one of the elusive 1982 small-date copper pennies. After professional verification and certification, the coin was confirmed genuine, sparking a wave of excitement in the coin collecting world. Experts estimate that only a handful of these coins exist, making them incredibly valuable to collectors and investors alike. It's a reminder that even in modern times, new discoveries can still rewrite numismatic history. How to identify valuable errors. Apart from the famous copper zinc mystery, there are other valuable error types that can make your 1982 penny special. Some examples include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the planchet was misaligned; double die errors, which cause the date or lettering to appear doubled; brockage errors, where one side of the coin shows a mirror-like impression of the opposite side; die cracks or cuts, where cracks in the minting die leave raised lines or blobs on the coin's surface. These error coins can fetch impressive prices depending on rarity and condition, and collectors actively seek them out. The importance of condition. As with all collectible coins, condition plays a crucial role in determining value. The mint state coins, those that have never circulated and retain their original luster, are the most desirable. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC often bring top dollar. A 1982 small date copper penny in perfect uncirculated condition can reach jaw-dropping prices. Even standard 1982 pennies in high mint state grades can be worth more than face value, especially when they feature sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear. The role of grading and certification. If you believe you have a valuable 1982 penny, professional grading is essential. Certification not only confirms the authenticity of the coin but also provides a standardized measure of quality, helping collectors and buyers agree on fair value. Grading services use the Sheldon scale, which ranges from poor, P1, to perfect mint state, MS 70. A high-grade example of a rare 1982 copper small date penny can skyrocket in value because top-quality coins are extremely scarce. How to find 1982 pennies today. You might be wondering where to look for one of these rare coins. The good news is that 1982 pennies are still in circulation. You can find them in your pocket change, in coin jars, or even in rolls from the bank. Many collectors also hunt through estate sales, flea markets, and old coin collections that may have gone untouched for years. Always carry a small digital scale and magnifying glass when coin hunting. You never know when you'll come across something extraordinary. The thrill of the hunt. Part of what makes the 1982 penny so exciting is the sense of discovery it offers. Every time you pick up a handful of pennies, there's a small chance you could be holding a rare piece of history. That feeling of possibility keeps coin collectors searching year after year, and it's what turns ordinary moments into treasure hunts. Even for beginners, collecting 1982 varieties can be a fun and educational experience. By learning to distinguish the small details, like weight and date style, you gain a deeper appreciation for minting artistry and history. The value and market demand. Over the years, the value of rare 1982 Lincoln cents has continued to rise. The combination of limited quantity, historical significance, and collector fascination keeps demand strong. Dealers and auctions often feature these coins with intense bidding wars. Collectors consider the 1982 penny a must-have piece for a complete Lincoln cent collection, especially those who specialize in transitional era years. Even the standard zinc and copper versions can command premiums in pristine condition, especially with high certification grades. Modern impact and legacy. Today, the legacy of the 1982 penny continues to influence the hobby. It's often cited as a perfect example of how a small mistake, like leftover planchets being struck at the wrong mint, can create an icon of numismatic value. The coin also serves as a reminder of how economic forces shape even the smallest details of everyday life. The 1982 shift from copper to zinc wasn't just about coins, it reflected broader changes in global metal markets, production costs, and American industry. Stories from collectors who have searched for the 1982 copper penny often describe the thrill of the chase. Some recall finding dozens of 1982 coins in their spare change and weighing each one, hoping for that 3.11-gram miracle. Others tell stories of discovering near-perfect uncirculated examples that shine with original mint brilliance. These personal stories give life to the coin's history. It's not just about value, It's about passion, persistence, and the excitement of discovery that every collector shares. Why this coin captures the imagination. What makes the 1982 D. Lincoln penny truly special is its blend of mystery and accessibility. Anyone can find one, but only a few will hold the rare copper version. It bridges the gap between ordinary and extraordinary, turning a 1-cent coin into a piece of American treasure. The 1982 D. penny represents change, literally and figuratively. It marks the end of the copper era, the beginning of the zinc age, and the enduring allure of the Lincoln cent, which remains one of the most collected coins in the world. That story belongs to the 1983 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. At first glance, this humble penny looks like any ordinary coin resting in your pocket, easily overlooked or spent without a second thought. But what if I told you that some of these 1983 D. Lincoln pennies could be worth an incredible amount of money? What if that 1 cent you barely notice could turn out to be worth thousands of dollars? Today, we're diving deep into the history, design, errors, and unbelievable values of the 1983 D. Lincoln penny, one of the most talked about modern coins in American numismatic history. The Lincoln penny has been a cornerstone of American currency since 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this coin replaced the Indian head cent and became an instant classic. But the year 1983 marked a very interesting turning point for this legendary coin. It was a time of major change in the composition, minting techniques, and even in the way collectors viewed modern pennies. To understand why the 1983 D. penny has become such a hot topic, we have to go back a little, to 1982. That's when the U.S. Mint decided to change the penny's composition. For decades, Lincoln cents had been made mostly of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc. But in 1982, due to the rising price of copper, the Mint made a bold decision: switch to a cheaper material. Starting that year, pennies were made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating on the outside. This change meant that starting in 1983, all circulating pennies would be zinc-based coins, lighter in weight and slightly different in sound when dropped. Now, the 1983 D. penny, minted at the Denver Mint, identified by the D. Mint mark below the date, is part of this new zinc era. However, the transition wasn't perfect. During the switch, there were experimental runs, die changes, and even a few surprises that slipped through the cracks. Some 1983 D. Lincoln pennies were struck with extraordinary minting errors or unusual metal compositions. And that's where the excitement begins. Collectors have discovered that some 1983 D. Lincoln cents were accidentally struck on the older copper planchets left over from 1982. Imagine that, a coin meant to be made from zinc accidentally made from copper. These are called transitional error coins, and they are extremely rare. You see, a regular 1983 D. zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams, but a genuine copper version weighs around 3.1 grams. That's why many coin collectors use a sensitive scale to weigh their 1983 pennies, searching for that elusive heavier one that could be worth a fortune. But even among the regular zinc 1983 D. pennies, there are other kinds of errors that make certain coins valuable. Some have double dies, where the design was accidentally struck twice. This creates a noticeable doubling effect on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait, something collectors prize. Other errors include off-center strikes, die cracks, and even broad strikes, where the rim and details are distorted during minting. Each of these variations adds a unique story to a coin that might otherwise seem ordinary. Now, let's talk about the Denver Mint itself. In 1983, the Denver facility produced hundreds of millions of pennies. The minting process was fast, efficient, and highly automated, but that also meant that quality control wasn't perfect. A few coins with interesting flaws slipped through. That's why today, sharp-eyed collectors and coin hunters carefully examine their pocket change, magnifying glass in hand, hoping to find one of these rare mint errors. It's also worth noting that 1983 was one of those years when collectors weren't yet paying much attention to modern pennies. Most people thought valuable coins only came from the early 1900s or special silver issues. But as time went on, and more error coins began to surface, the modern Lincoln cents, especially from the 1980s, started gaining respect and attention in the hobby. the design of the 1983 D. Lincoln penny remains the same classic look we all know. On the obverse, you see the bust of Abraham Lincoln facing right, designed by Victor D. Brenner. His initials, VDB, can be seen on the shoulder of Lincoln's coat. Above his head, the words, "In God We Trust," are engraved, with "Liberty" on the left and the date, 1983, on the right, accompanied by that all-important D. mint mark. The reverse side, at that time, still featured the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. It's a fitting tribute to the great president, showing the iconic building that honors his legacy. And if you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an incredible detail that many people overlook. Now, when it comes to value, condition matters more than anything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor, P1, all the way to mint state, MS 70, with higher grades commanding higher prices. A well-circulated 1983 D penny may only be worth its face value, but those in uncirculated condition or with special errors can fetch far more. Collectors especially look for coins with strong luster, sharp details, and no scratches or wear. Over the years, some 1983 D Lincoln pennies have sold at auction for incredible amounts, especially those struck on copper planchets or with dramatic double die errors. Imagine finding a penny in your change and realizing it's worth thousands. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Stories have surfaced of people weighing their pennies at home, discovering that one rare heavy piece that turns out to be a copper transitional error, and selling it for life-changing amounts. Even regular 1983 D pennies in pristine condition can bring higher prices from collectors who specialize in full red examples, those that retain their original reddish luster and shine. The grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified many of these coins in top mint state condition, and their values continue to grow as demand increases. Another interesting point is the history surrounding the 1983 D pennies era. The early 1980s were challenging economic times in the U.S., marked by inflation, metal price fluctuations, and changes in how money was produced. The decision to switch from copper to zinc wasn't just about saving money, it symbolized the adaptation of the U.S. mint to modern economic realities. For coin collectors, it marked the beginning of a new age in U.S. coinage, where composition changes and minting technology brought both challenges and hidden treasures. There's also a growing fascination with full sets of Lincoln cents, from 1909 all the way to the modern day. The 1983 D holds an important spot in this long-running series because it represents the second full year of zinc coinage. Without this coin, no Lincoln cent collection can truly be complete. And for those lucky enough to have the rare copper transitional version, that piece becomes the crown jewel of their collection. Beyond its monetary worth, the 1983 D Lincoln penny also carries deep symbolic value. It's a reminder that even the smallest coins can hold history, craftsmanship, and mystery within them. Every nick, shine, or mint mark tells a story, of how it was made, where it traveled, and how it survived decades of circulation. Collectors around the world often emphasize one golden rule: always check your change. That simple habit has led countless people to discover rare coins hiding in plain sight. And the 1983 D Lincoln penny is one of the best examples of why that advice pays off. Many collectors have shared stories online about finding unusual weights or doubling effects on their pennies, leading them down the fascinating path of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. When we look at the market today, it's clear that demand for Lincoln cents has never been stronger. With every passing year, more people become aware of just how valuable certain pennies can be, especially those with minting errors or historical significance. The thrill of finding one of these coins, perhaps in an old jar, wallet, or family coin box, never gets old. There's something magical about realizing that a coin you've held countless times, one you've seen since childhood, could be worth far more than anyone expects. That's the power of stories like the 1983 D Lincoln penny. It turns everyday objects into pieces of history, and sometimes into treasures worth thousands of dollars. The beauty of this coin lies not just in its rarity, but in what it represents. It's a bridge between old America and modern America, between tradition and innovation, between value measured in cents and value measured in legacy. Abraham Lincoln's face continues to inspire millions, not only for his leadership but also as the enduring symbol of the nation's resilience, etched forever on one of the world's most recognized coins. Yes, that's right. The 2001 Lincoln penny, a coin you might think is ordinary, has hidden secrets that could make it one of the most valuable treasures in your coin jar. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 2001 Lincoln 1-cent coin, exploring its design, mint marks, history, special varieties, errors, and why collectors are willing to pay incredible amounts of money for the rarest examples. So stay tuned until the end, because you're about to discover just how a simple penny could turn into a fortune. That the story behind the Lincoln penny. Before we jump into the details of the 2001 coin, let's take a quick journey back in time. The Lincoln 1-cent coin was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States and one of the most respected leaders in American history. The Lincoln penny became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait, a major change in U.S. coin design at that time. The original design by Victor David Brenner featured Lincoln's side profile on the front, or obverse, along with the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year of issue. On the back, or reverse, it originally had two wheat stalks, known as the wheat ears design. That design lasted until 1958, after which the mint switched to the Lincoln Memorial reverse, which appeared from 1959 all the way through 2008. The 2001 penny still carries the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a tribute to the monument built in honor of Lincoln's legacy in Washington, D.C. The design and features of the 2001 Lincoln penny. The 2001 Lincoln 1-cent coin was produced by the United States Mint in 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The mint marks are what tell us where a coin was made: P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. If your 2001 penny has no mint mark, it means it came from Philadelphia. If there's a small d under the year, that's the Denver Mint. And if you see an S, that means it's a proof coin from San Francisco, made specifically for collectors with mirror-like finishes and sharp details. Now, what makes this coin stand out visually is its simple yet historic beauty. On the front, you see Abraham Lincoln facing right, just as he has for more than a century. To his left is the word Liberty, and to his right is the date, 2001. Above his head are the powerful words, "In God We Trust." On the back of the coin, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, complete with tiny details of the columns and even a tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside if you look closely under magnification. Above the memorial are the words, "United States of America," below it reads, 1 cent, and just above that, E pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. The metal composition. The 2001 Lincoln penny is part of the modern, copper-plated zinc era. Since 1982, the U.S. Mint stopped making pennies primarily out of copper because it became too expensive. Instead, each penny after that year was made of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, just a thin copper coating to give it that traditional look. Each penny weighs 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. Although they might look identical, these coins have very different values depending on where and how they were struck, and if any minting errors occurred during production. Production and mintage numbers. In 2001, billions of Lincoln pennies were minted. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 4.9 billion coins, the Denver Mint struck more than 5.3 billion, and the San Francisco Mint produced several million proof coins. With numbers like that, it's easy to think every 2001 penny is common and worthless. But here's where things get interesting. Among those billions of coins, some were made with mistakes, known as mint errors. And those errors are what transform ordinary pennies into valuable collector's items. Valuable error varieties of the 2001 penny error coins are like hidden treasures in the coin world. They happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, maybe a die crack, a misaligned strike, a double die, or even a wrong planchet. Here are some of the most fascinating and valuable error types found on the 2001 Lincoln pennies. Double die obverse, DDO. This is one of the most famous errors in U.S. coinage. If your 2001 penny shows doubling on the date, the word Liberty, or In God We Trust, you might have a rare variety. Under magnification, these double details are unmistakable, and collectors go crazy for them. Off-center strike. Sometimes, a coin is struck slightly off from the center. Depending on how far off it is, the value increases dramatically. A 5% to 10% off-center strike might bring a few dollars, but one that's 50% off-center can fetch hundreds. Die cracks and cuts, these appear as raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the surface of the coin. They happen when the die used to strike the coins develops cracks. These unique markings make every coin different and highly collectible. Wrong planchet error. On rare occasions, a penny might be accidentally struck on the wrong metal blank, like a dime planchet. This error creates a lightweight penny that looks different in color and thickness. Such errors can sell for thousands of dollars. BIE error. One fun error is the BIE variety, where a small die chip appears between the letters B and E in Liberty, making it look like there's an extra letter, I. Collectors of Lincoln cents love this kind of variety. Each of these errors can dramatically change the value of a 2001 penny from just 1 cent to hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on the type, condition, and rarity. Grading and condition matter when it comes to coin collecting. Condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. That if your 2001 penny is heavily circulated, with scratches, dull color, or wear on Lincoln's face, it's probably worth face value. But if it looks brand new, shiny, with full details and no marks, it could be worth far more. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, which were never meant for circulation, often hold the highest values because they're struck multiple times for a flawless finish. A 2001 S-proof penny in perfect PR70 condition can fetch impressive prices among collectors, especially if it's graded and sealed by major grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Why collectors love the 2001 penny. So, what makes the 2001 penny special? Beyond its modern look, it marks one of the last years before the massive redesign of the Lincoln penny in 2009, when the Lincoln Memorial Reverse was replaced by the Lincoln Bicentennial series, that makes the 2001 version part of the final generation of the iconic memorial design, an end of an era for Lincoln pennies. Many collectors are now focusing on collecting the last few years of the memorial design in high grades, especially from 1999 to 2008. Additionally, the 2001 coins often have brilliant luster and sharp detail, making them stand out in coin albums. Combined with the hunt for errors, this coin has become a favorite among numismatists who love finding hidden gems and pocket change. Tips for finding valuable 2001 pennies. If you want to search for valuable 2001 pennies, here are some expert tips. Always check the mint mark under the date, Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to spot small errors or doubling. Look closely at In God We Trust, Liberty, and the date for any signs of doubling or extra metal. Examine the rim and edges for cracks, misalignments, or missing parts. Store your best coins in protective holders to prevent scratches and tarnishing, and if you think you found a valuable one, consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC to verify its authenticity and grade. That's how serious collectors determine a coin's true worth. The most valuable 2001 Lincoln penny ever sold. Now let's talk about the record breaker, the 2001 Lincoln penny that stunned the collecting world. Among the billions of 2001 pennies made, one stood out due to its perfect condition and extraordinary strike quality. This particular coin, graded at a flawless mint state by a professional grading company, sold for an unbelievable amount at a major coin auction. Collectors recognized it not only for its immaculate preservation but also for its strong strike, eye-catching color, and full original luster. Video. We're diving deep into the story of one of the most fascinating modern coins ever minted in the United States, the 2021 Lincoln 1-cent penny. It's a coin that might look ordinary to most people, but hidden among these shiny little copper-colored pieces are some incredible rarities that have captured the attention of collectors all over the world. Believe it or not, some of these 2021 Lincoln pennies are worth far more than just 1 cent, and by the end of this video, you'll discover why one rare example of this coin has been valued at an unbelievable $12,270. So, sit tight, because we're about to uncover everything, from its rich design history, production secrets, minting errors, and how to identify if you might be holding a treasure right in your pocket. Change. Story begins. Let's begin with a little background. The Lincoln 1-cent penny has been a part of American life for more than a century. It all started in 1909 when the first Lincoln cent was struck to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. This coin replaced the Indian head penny, and since then, it's become a beloved symbol of American history, pride, and perseverance. Fast forward to 2021, a year when the world was recovering from many challenges, and the United States Mint continued its proud tradition of producing billions of Lincoln cents for circulation. At first glance, the 2021 penny might not seem very different from previous years, but it's more than just a continuation of a classic design, it's part of a living legacy that connects modern America with its historic past. Design and details. Let's take a closer look at the design of the 2021 Lincoln penny. On the obverse, or front side, we have the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner. His portrait has appeared on the penny since 1909 and remains one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Above Lincoln's head, you'll find the word "Liberty" to the left and the phrase, "In God We Trust," inscribed proudly across the top. On the right side, you'll see the date, 2021, and, depending on where it was minted, a small mint mark that tells you its origin, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. Now, let's flip the coin over. On the reverse, we see the iconic Union Shield design that has been used since 2010. This shield features 13 vertical stripes representing the original colonies, joined together under a horizontal bar bearing the inscription E pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. At the center of the shield is a banner with the single word, 1 cent, reminding us of the coin's humble denomination. Together, these design elements symbolize the strength and unity of the nation, and even though it's just 1 cent, the Lincoln penny holds a meaning far greater than its face value. Composition and minting. Now let's talk about what this coin is made of. By 2021, the penny was composed primarily of zinc, 97.5% zinc and just 2.5% copper plating. This composition has been used since 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched from solid bronze due to rising metal costs. In 2021, billions of these coins were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with smaller quantities made for collectors at the San Francisco Mint. The Denver Mint, marked with a small D mint mark, is especially known for producing coins for circulation across the western half of the United States, but here's where it gets interesting: not all pennies are created equal. Among the billions struck, some coins left the mint with remarkable errors and varieties that make them stand out to collectors, and those are the ones that can be worth serious money. Rare varieties and minting errors. So, what kinds of rare varieties or mistakes should you be looking for on a 2021 Lincoln penny? Let's explore some of the most valuable and fascinating ones. First, there's the double die obverse. This happens when the coin's design is struck twice at slightly different angles, causing a doubled image. On the 2021 Lincoln penny, you might see doubling on Lincoln's eye, the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." If you find this type of doubling under a magnifying glass, congratulations, you could be holding a small fortune in your hand. Next up is the off-center strike. This error occurs when the coin blank isn't perfectly centered in the press, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted. Depending on how far off-center it is, such coins can fetch impressive prices. Another exciting variety is the broad strike error, which happens when the coin is struck without a proper collar to contain its edges, making it appear wider or distorted. These are visually striking errors and always attract collectors' attention. And then there's the ever-popular die crack or die chip error, where small breaks in the minting die leave raised metal lines or blobs on the coin. On 2021 pennies, collectors have found these errors near Lincoln's head, the shield, and even the lettering. Finally, let's not forget about the proof coins. These are special editions struck at the San Francisco Mint with a mirror-like finish, sold directly to collectors. While most 2021 proof pennies are worth just a few dollars, a perfect example graded PR70, which means flawless, can sell for much more, especially if it has unique toning or other eye-catching features. The collector's market. Now let's talk about the market value of these coins. The demand for modern Lincoln pennies has grown tremendously over the years, thanks to online coin communities, YouTube channels, and collectors who love searching through pocket change for hidden gems. A regular 2021 penny from circulation might be worth just its face value, 1 cent, but condition, rarity, and errors can change everything. Coins graded in high mint state condition, MS67 or MS68, by professional services like PCGS or NGC can command premium prices. For instance, a 2021 D penny with an error or in pristine mint state condition has been known to sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But one particular coin has become famous for setting a record among collectors, a stunning 2021 Lincoln penny with a nearly flawless strike and a unique double die feature that captured the attention of the numismatic world. This coin was certified in perfect condition, and because of its incredible rarity and visual appeal, it was sold for a jaw-dropping price. The human connection. What makes the Lincoln penny so enduringly fascinating isn't just its material or rarity, it's the story behind it. Every time you hold one, you're holding a piece of American history. It's a coin that has witnessed world wars, technological revolutions, and cultural shifts. From the dirt roads of the early 1900s to the digital world of the 21st century, the Lincoln penny remains a constant reminder of honesty, humility, and hard work, qualities that Abraham Lincoln himself represented. And for collectors, the excitement of discovering something valuable hidden in plain sight, maybe in your change from the grocery store or tucked away in an old jar, is what makes this hobby so thrilling. Even though the U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year, the hunt for rare variations continues to drive curiosity and passion. For some, it's about profit; for others, it's about history, beauty, and the connection to something larger than themselves. Spotting value in your collection. If you want to check your own 2021 pennies for value, here are a few tips. First, use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to look for doubling, die chips, or other unusual marks. Check both sides carefully, especially around Lincoln's face and the lettering. Second, inspect the coin's condition. Coins that are bright, shiny, and show no signs of wear are more valuable than those that are scratched or dull. If you think you have something special, you can send it to a grading company like PCGS, NGC, or Anax for professional evaluation. Third, research completed sales online. Auction sites and coin marketplaces can give you an idea of what collectors are currently paying. And finally, don't forget that even if your coin isn't worth thousands, every coin tells a story. Sometimes the sentimental value or the history behind it can be just as rewarding as the monetary one.